With just this one method, a friend who was a chronic music dropout and could never read sheet music for the life of them suddenly started reading Beethoven and Chopin pieces without getting stuck. Students who used to say, the notes are just black ink and the sheet is just white paper, all ended up opening their eyes to reading sheet music. A year ago, I had a new student come to me for lessons, a 6th grader. Even though they started playing piano at age 7 and had been playing for 6 years, they couldn't sight read a piece right away. To figure out the root cause, I checked a few things. They had a habit of not looking through standard Bayer or Czerny books properly. And even with simple sheet music, they wouldn't get it right in one go and just carelessly gloss over mistakes. But this wasn't just a simple habit issue. They genuinely didn't know how to read sheet music correctly. So, to boost these student skills, I had them try so many different things. Out of all of them, when I kept having them practice just this one training method, their reading speed became incredibly fast, and they were able to sight read difficult pieces on the spot. So today, I'm going to share that entire method, so make sure to stay focused and listen until the very end. To read and play sheet music perfectly, 3 steps must be met. First, music literacy, the ability to decode the sheet music properly. Second, score reading skills, the ability to quickly grasp the flow of the music. Third, performance skills, expressing it well on the keys or your instrument. Today, we're going to focus on the absolute foundation and core of it all, the training method to build your music literacy. Alright, first, shall we try reading this score? Ugh, just looking at it makes you want to give up because it looks so complicated, right? Well, today, I'm going to show you the magic of being able to read this score in one glance. Okay, this time, let's read through this sheet music. Looking from the beginning, this is high C, right? And then it's E, B, and A. But for those saying, teacher, I can't even read this, you really need to study a bit. You have to be able to read at least this much. This repeats one more time below, right? Let's read this part too. It repeats yet again. Shall we look? Right here in the 7th measure. It changes slightly here, but an A still comes out, right? Now, let's also look at measure 11 over here. If you look at just the top notes, it goes like this, right? So, C, E, B, A are repeating right now. That's why, when you analyze sheet music normally, if you break it down into 4 measure units, you'll start to see the phrases. What is a phrase? Think of it as a sentence. When we think of it like written language, we have to divide it into phrases. Why is that? Because it's efficient. If it's the exact same thing, looking at it as if it's completely new every time is just not efficient. In music, there are so many elements that repeat. They develop while repeating, and they also go through variations. Just by finding what develops and what varies, you can read sheet music 100 times faster. Alright, write this down. Divide into phrases and find the repetitions. If you find how those repetitions develop and vary, you can read sheet music incredibly fast. Those phrases usually consist of 4 measure units. But from what I see when students practice, I don't think even 3 out of 10 people do this. It sounds like a total given, but in reality, barely anyone actually does it. So, let's dive deeper into how to apply this in practice. Okay, we found what repeats. Now, let's see how it gets modified. This front section here can be viewed as our intro. Let me just play up to the left hand. If I play only the right hand, up to here is one phrase. I told you it breaks down into 4 measure units, right? The first line at the front is the intro. What is an intro? It refers to the opening section when a piece first starts. And then, the main theme of this music appears for the first time as a 4 measure unit. Let's look at the next part too. If you look at just the top notes, it's completely identical, right? Looking at just the top notes, let's look from here. You can consider it a repetition from this point all the way to here. Then, there's no need to look at it as something new. By mastering just this one single part, we automatically cover everything up to this point. Remember, I told you to look out for the variations, what changes. Look underneath. What appeared below this note? Another note was added, but a note is never added randomly or without a specific reason. Let's try to find the rule together. Let's see exactly what was added. Underneath the upper melody note, a note a sixth below has been added. So when you look closely at this score, open your eyes wide and check out this visual distance. It's an interval of a sixth. Just glancing at this spacing, what interval do you think this is? Let's check it. It's a sixth, right? Oh, this one is also a sixth apart? Then let's look at this one too. It's a sixth. Okay, let's look at this one here as well. It builds chords by stacking notes downward in intervals of sixths. What is a chord? When two or more notes ring out at the same time, that's a chord. We could just play a single note like this, but playing two notes makes the sound much richer and prettier. That's why we stack them a sixth below. You can assume they're stacked that way, especially when placed beneath the melody line. Next, let's see what interval this one is. It's a fifth, right? So you stack them in intervals of sixths or fifths, but just take a direct comparison between the two right now, between the sixth and the fifth. The fifth is a bit shorter, a bit narrower, right? So a fifth interval looks like this, and for fifths, it's helpful to look at this shape first. It looks exactly like a snowman shape, doesn't it? The notes are stacked neatly right on top of each other like this. When it's structured like this, we position our hand like this to play it. Since there's a G sharp, we play like this here. And if you just filter out this element, you can instantly recognize that it's a fifth interval. So even if it doesn't happen instantly, and even if your eyes can catch it right away, you should be able to look at it and say, it's either a sixth or a fifth. You need to train your eyes to see that. So inside your brain right now, here's the mental process that needs to happen. First, you have to look at the melody line, this one right here. This part highlighted in purple. Your eyes need to register this first. Then, for the lower note underneath, you shouldn't be counting up to an E note by note. You just immediately frame your hand a sixth below. To clarify what I mean, it was this. Oh, this spacing feels like a sixth, doesn't it? Then your hand needs to physically shape into a sixth. In fact, you can find things like this in churning as well. There are churning etudes explicitly designed like this to get your hands accustomed to the interval of a sixth. This one is a fifth, which is also great to practice shaping. So even if it doesn't click immediately, that's the mental framework that should be happening. That's just how musical principles work. Because let's say this was an interval of a second, and I stacked the notes that way. This is a second, right? Second refers to the distance between the notes. Sounds strange, right? Stacking notes in seconds creates an unstable feeling. We call this a dissonance. It creates a harsh, clashing sound. Of course, composers sometimes use it intentionally to add tension or create a dramatic effect, but you can see that a sixth was used in this specific context. Open up whatever sheet music you're practicing right now. Try to find the intervals of a sixth. You'll find an absolute ton of them in the right-hand part. Next, let's look over at the left hand and see how it's structured. Instead of reading each individual note one by one, you need to track how it moves from one note to the next. Look at the voice leading and context. Let's see. This note right here is an A. Now, I said you have to know at least this basic note. It steps down one note at a time. For the most part, the left hand descends step by step. The left hand is responsible for the harmony. It provides the harmonic foundation that supports the melody line. This is the big picture framework. Now let's check how this basic outline has been varied in this section. Remember I said variations occur in 4 measure units? Let's check it out. How does it change? Because the line was dropping too low, it jumped back up here. Don't let these register changes confuse you. It steps down like this, right? It's the exact same chord progression. But how is it broken up and played? They added a few more notes over on this side like this. But again, they don't just add strange, random notes without rhyme or reason. They voiced it in octaves, an octave interval, right? And they included a fifth, an interval of a fifth up from the bass note. So this one is also an octave structure, but they added an E here. It's the exact same pattern. Only the note for the second finger is changing slightly. I'll explain the details of this later on. Oh, this one is different. D, A, C. It's a 7th chord structure. Of course, playing it this way works perfectly fine too, but it seems the composer wanted to introduce a little variety here. It has been modified like this. I went through the left-hand part a bit quickly, so you're observing how it transforms, and when you see block chords broken up and played sequentially like this, it is called an arpeggio technique. Now, you don't necessarily have to memorize the term, but just know they are played broken up. Taking notes that could be played simultaneously and breaking them apart into octaves. It's also an excellent exercise to practice playing them as solid block chords like this. Alright, now that you've listened to my explanation, I'll link the sheet music in the description box below, so go grab it. Practice the right hand and left hand exactly 10 times each, and then try putting both hands together. It is completely fine if it's not perfect. If you can see the patterns even just a little bit and feel like you understand what teacher Chacha is talking about, that's a huge success. The piano doesn't just happen overnight. Music is all about patience. Piano equals patience. So in the next video, I'll show you the secret to instantly decoding that complicated piece of sheet music I showed you earlier. For now, hit pause and go try it out on the piano.